Welcome and welcome to everyone. It is a conference, the contribution of FMI to the education path, challenges and perspectives. So welcome to all those that are in presence and those that are connected remotely. Welcome to everybody. We will start with our praying that will be preceding by the hymn of the conference, and we will have the possibility to read the genesis of this Suor Antonella.
Questa preghiera a Maria, Madre ed Educatrice, si
is
ispira
praying
al testo
to
per oratorio
Mother,
Maria,
the
tu sei
educator,
l'aiuto
is inspired
di
to Maria, tu sei l'aiuto,
Marchi.
by Balbo Colombo Marchi.
Madre di Cristo, tu sei madre sempre, dal sì dell'Annunciazione al sì sotto la croce, fino alla completa redenzione di noi figli e figlie del Padre.
Madre di Cristo e di tutta l'umanità, aiuto indispensabile nel tempo della Chiesa. Tu, Madre ed Educatrice, presente sempre quando la Chiesa nasce nella fede, quando cresce nell'amore e quando testimonia la speranza.
ausiliatrice nostra, ti ringraziamo per essere stata sempre con noi nei 150 anni della storia di questa famiglia che è tutta tua.
Donaci di annunciare ancora ai giovani e alle giovani le ricchezze di Cristo e di comprendere la larghezza e la profondità della nostra missione educativa. Amen.
We are encouraged by the presence of Mary. We will start our meeting and we will invite our mother, Chiara Cazzuola, to greet us. Welcome to everybody. I greet everybody. She should switch the mic on.
Pronto?
Yes, thank you.
Bene, benvenuti, benvenute.
Welcome to everybody,
A tutte.
female and males present. I warmly greet and I thank for being here Her Excellency Jean-Jules Bicam of the Haiti ambassador at the Holy See, Yvan Rangon, already superior of the FMA, and the president of the USMI, National USMI, Reinhard Heiserer, president of the no-profit organization Jugend ein Welt, Mr. Maria Carmen Casillon, the president of the World Conference of former pupils of FMA, Antonio Boccia, World Coordinator of Cooperators Allision.
Ecco, buon pomeriggio.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this international meeting on the topic contribution to FMA contribution to education, paths, challenges and perspectives that, as we know, is promoted by the Institute of FMA and organized by the Pontifical Faculty of Sciences, Auxilium. We are very numerous here in presence, and there are also many others connected remotely. And in this meeting that will end on the 3rd of September, we'll introduce a reflection on the present and the past in order to relaunch the educational missions of FMI after 150 years of its foundation. Considering the historical data, we would like to profile some aspects of the FMA contribution to education and outlining a path of the institutes in different cultural contexts, and most of all through the commitments that they have in the working classes, poors, and launching a confrontation that we have in the world in order to strengthen the network with other educational institutions at world level. The meeting can be placed in the process path promoted by Pope Francis on the Global Pact on Education, and Global Education Pact has multidisciplinary aspects and will be developed in 3 sessions that with many participants that are coming from all over the world. Therefore, it will be very interesting to follow the contents in presence and remotely online. The last session, perspective on the education will have the aim to help to acquire the acknowledgement, the awareness, and how are some core aspects of the preventive system of Giovanni Boschi are felt and interpreted by the lady with whom we are sharing some ideas. And it's also interesting to have the presentation of explorative research presented by an international equipe of the Auxilium University and FMA, pedagogists that are coming from many countries, and a round table that will give the sign of the presence of the FMA next to the youth, the young people, in a complex modernity. Therefore, then we will have an evening that will be organized by the students of the Auxilium University that will call many different young people coming from different countries to express what for them means the Salesian charisma. So I feel really to thank all those people who are working on it so that this conference can be successful and can lead to results in the future. Therefore, I wish to all of you a common path and fruitful working sessions. Thank you. Mother, now we would like to give you our gifts. That is something new. Suora Grazia Loparco. They would like to give to you a book, The Education Through Images, that story tells the history of our institutes through images. Grazia is there. Where is Suor Angela? Then Suor Grazia can come over here.
Suor Angela, dove sei?
Suor Angela, where are you?
Comunque possiamo fare un applauso.
Well, we can really clap your hands because really in such a short time, they were really to produce such a book that following images take us through the history of our charisma that was implemented in different countries. It's really touching. Thank you very much. This will be also the gift as well that we will give to our guests and the speakers, and the Institute really will take into consideration because it's a wonderful work for such a celebration after 150 years from our foundation. Now I would like to call here Paola Ilari, the Councillorship for Educational Policies at the 3rd Municipality in Rome. Good evening to everybody. It's really a gift being invited here, because in our territory, having an educational community that gave so much in the past and is giving in the present and will give in the future, and which actually project on the Global Education Pact is really a precious thing. It's a reason for being so proud. And with the president of our municipality, you know, Rome is divided into 15 municipalities. This journalist is in the third municipality. I was told it was important to be here, and that I have to be here. And the most important thing is that your work is extremely precious. Yesterday we followed some Francis meeting in Assisi, and the important words that the Pope said for the future, and which call us to go back to a solidarity economy, human economy. It's important that a legacy that enriches us. And with all these issues are important for the future of our youth population. I have to learn. I can learn very much from you. You are an international community. You have an international meeting, therefore I learn very much from you. But in our territory that is small, last June we had a global territorial pact in order to have an educating community that doesn't leave behind anybody. I'm pretty often relating with functionaries, the directors of different schools, different associations, and very often we felt that among the youth population, young people, there is a kind of sense of loss, and we have to understand how to help them. And I cannot but say that this sense of loss was due mainly to the pandemic, which isolated them. It didn't make them feel part of a community. But unfortunately, the pandemic really sharpened some uneasinesses. And we do know that there are some students who are drops out, so are dropping out school, many young people. So the educational role of the community is to curb all the deficiencies that are in the educational system, especially in those places where there are more difficulties. And that's why we were trying to do it, listen to everybody as an educational community, everybody. Therefore, in these next few days, I will learn from you and try to understand what you're really doing all over the world. I thank you very much, because not leaving behind anybody must be our priority. Welcome to Rome, welcome in our territory. Thank you very much. And now we would like to call Mother Yvonne Renguat, that is the president of USMI, National USMI. Good evening to everybody, I was told to greet on behalf of the National USMI, and I'm really very happy to do it in the very initiating moment of the international conference. To all the presents, I welcome with pleasure my greetings and the President of the USMI, the Union of Major Superiors of Italy, and all members that are part of this union. They are working on the territory and as well as in different parts of the world with a variety and complementary of the charism, gifts of the Holy Spirit to the Church and to society. And I think that through our voice, I will take the voice also the other congregations that are present in the world. The USMI has always acknowledged and still acknowledges the Salesian educational charism as a driving force that is creative, innovative, capable of bringing out the full potential of good presence in lives of the young people. USMI gratefully welcomes and appreciates the path of the Institute of the Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians, which is in the Jubilee year, and want to take her help in the educationally. And thanks to the founder of the Domenica Mazzarella, I entrust them to you, and such entrusting that she was able to translate with intuition, in all family intuition, in the preventive system of San John Bosco. Try to reconstruct the Global Pact, Educational Global Pact, is, with no doubt, the main priority that since September 2019, where Pope Francis call as animated process researches so that an integral education can really have a leverage on the heart of the youngs and on the disadvantages to build with them the civilization of love. The Education Alliance is a necessary condition for integral education. Has always been since the origin of the Institute of the Salesian family, a constituent element of the preventive system of San John Bosco with the Global Educational Pact. I would like to be the spokesperson of the USMI, and I thank the Daughters Mary Help of Christians who in fidelity to the education charism right from the start of the USMI have been committed and are also committed now at different level in the National Council, in the regional councils, collaborating in fields of formation and in other areas. After greeting and thanking, I extend on behalf of USMI wish, first of all, to Mother Chiara Cazzoli, who represents the Institute, and through her to reach every daughter of Mary of the Christians and every person who, in all these years, has spent the best educational energies with professionalism and love in the spirit of charism of the founders in the light of the gospel of Jesus. We hope that celebrating 150 years of life will be a springboard to continue to dream with the optimistic realism that is tailored to San Giovanni Bosco and Santa Maria Domenica Mazzella. Being like them, knowing how to look at young people with eyes of hope, loving them with loving kindness, helping them to think with penetrating intelligence, and together with them building a future according to God's plan in the world and in the Church. A transforming process starts with education. We are always generators of life and joy. In the relations with the congregations, the specific contribution of the Institute cannot but being there in order to share the richness of charism in the Church at the service of humanity. Therefore, I wish you a good conference, supported and made fruitful by the presence of Mary Help of Christians and your holy founders. Thank you very much. Now we will give the floor to Reinhard Heiserara, President of Jugend eine Welt.
Buenas tardes a todas y todos. Hablo en español. Mi lengua nativa es alemán, pero pienso me defiendo mejor en español en este ambiente aquí. Trabajé 5 años con los salesianos en Ecuador hace muchos años atrás y desde 25 años estoy al frente de la ONG Jugend eine Welt, que apoya obras de los salesianos y de hermanas salesianas. Y
of the Salesians. So for us, it's a huge pleasure to be with you, all together with you. And we celebrated not long ago the 25 years of the Jugend eine Welt Foundation. That it's not much compared to the 150 years celebration of FMA. And we could really exchange info on some project we are supporting in several countries. We are ONG that wants to reinforce the work for the youth, educating all the young people to combat poverty according to the Laudato Si and according to the German documents. 7 years ago, it was presented the public the SDG orientation guidelines for the civil society in Austria. And in Austria, some projects were addressed. And now I would like to share the situation that we had in Odessa. We receive in Austria many medicine aids, which we would like to send to the sisters that are in Odessa. It was very difficult to took there all these aid, especially in Odessa, where our Salesian sisters are working, but it was very much needed. And we have many different projects that we are following on behalf of the sisters. I have a small present. It's a cake. It's the best cake, German Austrian cake. It's the Sachertorte. Oh, each one of you that was in Austria knows this cake well. The history of this cake is extremely important. In the Austrian airport, you will see many cakes, many of these cakes, and the history of this cake. When in Austria, in an auto, delegation, a very famous delegation, got to Vienna to visit a Metternich. They were thinking about an exclusive cake and improvising. The chef, unfortunately, the cake was suddenly sick, so they didn't know what to do. They entrust themselves to the Sachner. It's a young cook of 16 years old, and they ask him to prepare a new good cake for the new delegations. And on the same day, he was able to present such cake. That now becomes a hit all over the world. Everybody who's traveling to Austria they want to eat it. And of course, it's also a very expensive cake. Therefore, we will eat just a small piece of cake. This Mr. Franz Sacher taught us many things. We must have trust in the young people, in those who are young and want to overcome and solve problems. And he, with this cake, greatly demonstrate this. Therefore, this is a wonderful story that I like to storytell. And we do know that he was at the same age of Don Bosco. And he was back in Turin. They were at the same age. And maybe the fact that this cake with this history behind, it's an important thing. We really admire very much you as FMA are performing, are doing. We are working on young people that are in the street, and we collaborate with them all. They know the problem. They are exploited by society, these young people. But what they not seen is the young and sweet girls who are locked sometimes and exploited. And this is something terrible. It's something that actually is invisible, but we have to remind you all. Sometimes we don't realize it. People do not talk much about it. They're always talking about the street boys, but what is happening behind a door is never mentioned. You, as a maternal group, you should address this issue, and I'm really grateful that you are all involved in this work. And then to close the International Day of the daughters, the female daughters in Latin America and India, they are celebrating it. So daughters are put at the center of the attention because they do have the same value of sons, of female, of males. And even if some society are not convinced of it. So it's incredible that these two things are coinciding at the same time. So placing at the center women and to fight for equality in order to avoid all these inequalities and discrimination that are still occurring in many different countries. Then, once again, thank you for FMA. They are the female version of Don Bosco. They educate, love all this part of society, and Mazzarello knew it. When we educate girls, we educate a whole nation. When I come from the Latin American with my heart that is lost there, Marcela Souza is a wonderful person. And when she sings, I sing with her, because I think that God doesn't make me to leave hope, to lose hope. So I thank you all, and I wish you all the best. And please, I leave the cake here. I will not take with me. Thank you very much. The mother has a very difficult task, how to divide that cake, and not only with all presents in presence, but also with the ones that are connected remotely. Now we have the greeting of the President of the World Conference of the Past Pupils, Maria Carmen Casillon.
Good afternoon, Mother Chiara, distinguished authorities and participants from all over the world. We are still in celebratory mode as we continue with the 150th anniversary of the foundation of the Institute. And what a way to celebrate the educational path of the beloved sisters. We have a saying, if it is not broken, don't fix it. Unfortunately, the educational system is broken in many parts of the world. Regrettable situation. We want the kids to learn many new things about technology, ideas, but we have left behind the fundamental basics of values, loyalties, and even dreams. We have been invited to come to this Congress to participate in the ongoing movement to support the Global Educational Pact launched by Pope Francis, and to cooperate with a new development model to the original contributions of the FMA to education. As past peoples, we can relate easily and perhaps give testimony of what we have received and how it has affected our lives. We are indebted to the Institute and to each sister who took the time to send us on the right path. The genius, enterprise, and leadership of Mother Mazzarello were the focus of the totality of the education of young women. Not so much a how to read and write, but a holistic approach to give the girls an opportunity to grow and find fulfillment in life. The past peoples will remember what we have learned from the sisters: teamwork, graciousness, self-worth, an open invitation to dream and to be able to succeed. This is the preventive system in action. My friends, we cannot change that. This education must continue with a renewed and forceful emphasis. This is why we are here today. Pope Francis on the Global Educational Path addresses this approach and begs not to leave any child behind. This initiative promotes the values of care for others, peace, justice, goodness, beauty, acceptance, and the fraternity to build hope, solidarity, and harmony everywhere. How can we, as participants in this Congress, work with each other and fully participate in the challenges and confrontations present today? And what is the future of education should look like now and in the future? Abraham Lincoln, the 17th President of the United States, once said, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." Welcome, and let us get to work. Thank you.
Ecco, adesso il signor Antonio Boccia,
Now, Antonio Boccia, World Coordinator of the Salesian Cooperators. Dears and dears gathered, I grasp this opportunity to give my greeting at the beginning of this international conference. In the logo of the event reads "Educare" together with care in capital letters, and care means care. And you, Salesian of Don Bosco, know well what it means, because you have a particular style which results from the feminine expression of the Salesian charisma in caring for young people. Educating is a matter of the heart, because for the Salesian family, educating is not an expression of professionalism for its own sake, but it means being tuned with the young people we meet. We have chosen it with a different expression, with different response to the call in the various vocational expressions within the Salesian family and as a charismatic family in the church. I was thinking of a figurative image which can transfer my greeting thought more effectively in reference to educating. And I thought about a tuning fork. Those who are familiar know music certainly know what it's about, but even those who do not work with sheet music and musical instruments, at least once will have heard this term. The tuning fork is an object that, due to its particular shape and the material of which it is made, when it's bumped against a rigid body, begins to vibrate and emits a precise musical note. And this oscillation frequency is constant and is so precise that it's used to tune other musical instruments as well. And therefore, if you, daughters of Mary, help of Christians, education is a matter of the heart. Make sure that you can activate paths, processes, and educational methods so that when your heart is hit by the Lord's call, the note of the Salesian charisma begins to vibrate, and the hearts of the young people that the Lord will place before you will be tuned to yours. Young people need adult travel companions who are patient, credible, and consistent witnesses. But only by feeling the presence, their heart will vibrate, will tune with others. Otherwise, we will be educational professionals with a very thin audience of recipients. Enjoy your conference. Now, let's go to, we would like to read some messages of authorities that cannot be here. We have Angel Fernandez Artime, that unfortunately is not in Rome, and then he left us a wonderful message, therefore, that you can read online, and then I can grasp the occasion to tell you that all the statements, all the remarks can be read directly on the website. I read the greeting for the 150 years daughter of Mary, Help of Christians. In 1864, Don Bosco arrived in Monese with his boys in the night. During his walk, it's already night. People come to meet him, preceded by the parish priest Don Valle and the priest Don Pastorino. The band plays, many kneels before Don Bosco walking by and ask him to bless them. Young people and people enter the church, the blessing is given with the blessed requiem, then all have dinner. Afterwards, encouraged by the applause, Don Bosco boys give a short concert with marches and cheerful music. In the front row is Maria Mazzarello, 27 years old. At the end, Don Bosco says a few words. We are all tired, and my boys want to have a good night's sleep. Tomorrow, however, we will talk each other longer. Don Bosco stays in Monese for 5 days. Every evening, Mary is able to listen to the good night he gives to his young people. She said, Don Bosco is a saint. I feel him. This is much more than just a feeling. For us believers, it's an inspiration. The Spirit of God is present in the lives of the sons of God. Its breath comes from above, and the enterprise that is born is God's plan. Don Bosco trusts Maria Mazzarella, and Mary trusts Don Bosco in signs of God. When things come from God, there are no obstacles that can stop them. Giovanni and Maria Domenica, two peasants of the Absolute, with the same strength that continue the path. All the depends on those who are addressed to. And she turns her own life to what we want it. She's in love. So she says that when you're talking with God, He gives you a dream. And He said, leave, I will show you the street. From here is the same courage of our founders. The world, it doesn't know anything about the daughters of Don Bosco are rising, and it's straightforward a miracle. Mary has an unbelievable sacrifice instinct, and in his peasantry has a very, very strong will, and the founder, one of the strongest in the church. How many institutions founded Mary? The new congregation in only 5 years developed incredibly, and when she's worried, she sings. And exactly as his mother and Margherita didn't have anything at that time. So all his virtues that are strong, the mystical vein, all encompassing, and she has really completely trust in God. Without her, nothing will be there. She invented new and bold solutions, and she is able to understand people. She will never be called superior. Call her mother, as Don Bosco says. Mother will be, and mother will keep on being for all the Salesian family. And the immense gift of her daughters. Without her, the Salesian family would not exist. They take with them the tenderness, the love kindness, the sense for service, and the courage in the cordiality. So it's really touching the scene of Don Bosco that are on the port quarry, and look at the missionary, female and male females missionaries are leaving. They are small individuals in front of the immensity of the sky and sea. When she asked, Father, I will go to America, he replied, you will go when I will go. From the immensity of God, today they are protecting us. Meanwhile, we can say our thank. Welcome to all the ones who are in presence and those who are connecting online. Now, the greeting of the Cardinal Donatos. Very dear daughters of Mary Help of Christians, I thank you for the kind invitation received from the Superior General, Sister Chiara Calzola, to participate in this important conference. And I regret that I cannot join you in presence. In these same days, in fact, the Eucharistic National Congress will come to an end in Matera. I also wish to make myself feeling close to you by extending a few heartfelt words of greeting and good wishing for the beginning of your working sessions. I extend an affectionate thought to the entire community of the Pontificia Faculty of the Educational Science Auxilium, and especially to the participants in the conference gathered in the Generalate of the Sisters of Mary Help of Christians on this happy occasion of the 150th anniversary of the foundation of their institute, which was founded by founders who were thinking about a thought of an institute aimed at the education of girls, and decided to set female-oriented purposes and recipients of educational actions. From those first steps, the audacity and creativity of the Salesian charisma has clearly emerged, which through the education of needy girls or poor and abandoned aim to acknowledge and exalt their personal dignity, initiating them to morality, science, religion, and developing both their personal and professional empowerment under the guidance of educators who were formed through Don Bosco preventive method. This mission has never failed. Instead, it has grown over time. It has been enriched with new works and has been extended to new recipients while diversifying the tools adopted to keep up with the times and to be able to reach the new generation in different cultures. In all this, the bright original goal has never changed: to approach young people, to make them good Christians and honest citizens. Today, in line with the Global Educational Pact launched by Pope Francis in 2019, the educational mission of the Daughters of Mary, Help of Christ Christians is increasingly oriented towards intercultural dialogue in the educating community, nearest to the needs of the territory, openness to networking and active solidarity, also promoted through volunteering. In this perspective, it is praiseworthy the initiative represented by the International Conference, in which, in addition to highlighting your contribution to the themes of the education, new perspective for the revival of your educational mission will be analyzed in a global perspective. As Pope Francis often reminds us, the change of era which are going through presses us to recover the sense of common belonging, put at the center not the individual but the person in relations. It is more necessary than ever, therefore, to introduce the category of fraternity into all educational processes we promote. The global educational path encourages to invest in dialogue, in the culture of the encounter, and to collaborate with other ecclesial and non-ecclesial realities, to build alliances that share the style of fraternity. The territorial dimension in which we move should lead us to the creation of multiple local educational pacts. The Diocese of Rome is grateful to the Lord for the fruitfulness of your mission and supports you in working together towards a common good goal. May Jesus, Master, illuminate your steps, and may Mary, help of Christians, accompany you in her tenderness. Best wishes and good work. Cardinal De Donatis. And now, last greeting, the most important one, that will be read by Pope Francis. In the occasion of the International Congress, contribution of to education by FMA that has been promoted 150 years old from the foundation of this institute, the Holy Father Francis extend to the participant her helpworthy greetings. He likes to thank God for the good that was exercised by FMA, by the pedagogical educational system, and within the education system by FMA. Francis encouraged the meaningful activities that is aspired to the existent Christian existence in the view of the integral promotion of the human being by offering to the church and society young people who are professionally well prepared, are sensitive, and have courage. With such vows, the Pontifex, by invoking the protection of Mary, Auxiliary Mary, and the intercession of San Bosco and Domenica Mazzarello, had felt his apostolic benedictions. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, on behalf of Pope Francis. Now all greetings comes to an end, and now we will start with our program and the introduction that our Grazia Loparco, that is the scientific coordinator of our scientific committee, will have an introduction to the conference. Good evening to everybody. Now I give voice to the scientific committee that has been preparing this event for years, first with the President Pira del Tone, now with the Raffinato. The conference on the contribution of the FMA to education, paths, challenges and perspectives recurs, as we heard many times, in the 150th anniversary of the Institute of Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians. The General Council has entrusted the Pontifical Faculty of Educational Science, Auxilium, with the task of undertaking a wide-range reflection on the commitment of the Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians in their mission that today is carried out in 97 countries on 5 continents. The event occurs also 400 years after the death of St. Francis de Sales, who was the inspirer of the Dami Animas of universal scope, which guided the educational choice of Don Bosco and St. Mary Domenica Maria Mazzarella, giving a specific feature and responsibility to the entire Salesian family in the Church and in society. If we compare his humble origins in Monese with the rapid spread of his works, especially in favor of the elevation of poor people, we must admit that the Institute arouses a certain degree of astonishment. For those who have faith, smallness best reveals both God's initiative, and as well as how much the unity of a team can multiply modest resources. A word on the topic of this conference. The topic of the conference, while focusing on the commitment of a religious institute, is part of a wide network of interlocutors, namely those who share the need and the urgency to really invest in education, being convinced that only by pursuing this path, society can be improved, inhabiting the current complexity that affects young people. It is to them that we will pay particular attention here, even if education is for all. In such world tense situation, which seems to bend and heading towards a hard, dehumanizing direction, it is necessary to face questions with courage and lucidity, and to identify some ways to promote a person in his entirety. In fact, the quality of life is nourished by meanings rather than ephemeral goods or likes, as can be seen from the restlessness of many young people. It is indeed the care for the person which enabled the task of inhabiting the world positively. But what is the right care today? The horizon in which we place ourselves. Thanks to the help of several male and female speakers, some of them are present among us, so we accept the invitation of Pope Francis to place ourselves in this change of epoch, and therefore we dedicate time to further explore, starting from the rereading of reality according to the evangelical perspective, so that we can contribute in our own small way to redefine progress in the logic of a new model of global development based on an integral, transcendent, and inclusive humanism, as Laudato Si invites us to do. In this scenario, we ask ourselves, what is the specific contribution that the FMA Institute is called to offer, starting from the preventive perspective which characterizes us, and by the emerging challenges on the one hand enriches the cultural and pedagogical debate, and at the same time is enriched with new perspectives of interpretation and actions by acknowledging the prophetic term of the gospel in culture. The hermeneutic horizon in which we place ourselves in this Congress is enclosed in the paradigm of the complex and multidimensional construct of integral ecology that we want to deepen in the promotional perspective of the preventing method. The desired pastoral conversion is expressed in the spiritual conversion invoked in Laudato Si, which invites us to place at the foundation of reality the encounter with Christ and the impact that this encounter determines in many daily relations. Even the UN 2030 agenda, at the basis of human rights, has several points of contact that concern society and therefore each person according to his or her roles. In the Salesian perspective of the logical prevention, on the one hand, we are committed to contrast everything that prevents dialogue, as well as the denial of problems, indifference, resignation, blind trust in technical solution, exploitation and distrust in new generations. On the other, we are seeking educational paths oriented to bring us to meet ourselves and our own inner dynamism in view of living mature relations of reciprocity with others, the so-called culture of encounter, with nature, ecological spirituality, with the world, the common home. From these assumptions, we encourage concrete accountability for the construction of a both more just and human society, aiming in particular at the women's contribution at local and global level to form good Christians and honest citizens today. The method that guides the path. We are aware that we are in a polyhedral reality, also in the educational field, with many educational institutions, both religion and secular, and of the Sicilian family. Therefore, by facing a plurality of perspective, we confront ourselves on great questions. Where should education go? With the choice of the option for preventive system. And since our institution has a wide range of social educational history, it is important to take into account the diversity of contents. We will hear talking about this diversity several times, and for this very reason we adopt this logic of dialogue which characterizes inherently the preventive method, which founds a culture of encounter in view of a renewed proposal. Hence, we first and foremost listen to reality. Listening to the past, to reread the experience that has shaped a Salesian identity over time and refine, at least in the best cases, an interpretive mindset of the educational needs of a context in a prospective and well-directed function. Listening to the past, but also listen to the present, to grasp the educational demand of new generation, letting ourselves be questioned, be challenged by it, identifying the meaningful, common and differentiated aspects in cultural contexts, starting from the inclusive and integral principle that characterizes preventive education, Salesian preventive education. Listening, once again, to the emerging challenges to promote formation paths aiming to changing reality in view of developing a culture of social law capable of transforming relations into political consensus at the service of the common good. What are the purpose of this conference, actually? The fundamental purpose of the conference is thus to place us in the change of the era with the contribution of the Salesian female education. The rationale of the conference intend to reflect the varied disciplinary interests of the faculty around education. Therefore, it moves from the knowledge of the Institute in its development to reread education and prevention in modernity, relaunching the mission of the educating community of the FMAs in the world, looking ahead with large synergies. The working sessions aim to highlight the relation between action and thought, and between the proposal for reflection and the impact on lifestyle and relations. The forward-looking proposal can be sketched out in these steps. The first perspective, dwelling upon the reflection to illuminate the meaning of the human person, starting from the Christian and Salesian conception of life, as person-centered, as a person in relation according to the Christian pedagogical humanism, and secondly, questioning the educational practice of the FMAs and other educators who converge on the basic anthropological conception, giving attention to context and resonances. The objectives, therefore, to be pursued together at this conference are, first of all, to deepen the knowledge of the Institute in its development and to relaunch the mission of the FMAs through a rereading of preventive education that is unseen in the new today, giving specific attention to young women in different contexts. In addition, to become more aware of potential and challenges of a Salesian educational culture and practice called to be included and to renew education in various contexts, without conforming to local habits are less respectful of the person and also less respectful of the young woman. To carry out a fruitful dialogue of study aimed to take place in cultural pluralism in a more conscious way, and to repropose the great pillars of our anthropological, pedagogical and Salesian proposal in a more stimulating and innovative way. And once again, to offer food for thoughts and method on the educational and formative policies of the Institute, and to contribute to forging a global educational pact for a more human and more humanizing society. In the end, to strengthen our network with other educational institutions at the international level, highlighting and disseminating the educational legacy of the Institute, that is a common good of the society and of the Church, is not a legacy of one institution. Now, the preparatory process of the conference, and this conference is part of this process, one moment of this process. This process relied on international actors, representatives of different institutions, and on a large participation of FMA and educating communities of many countries. And therefore, we really enjoy of the collaboration of some dicasteries, because many educating communities were involved. The reflection has progressed with a dialogue of study that has been activated to interpret reality and not only to tell facts or analyze phenomena, and aim to repropose the great pillars of our anthropological and charismatical proposal that is up to the present. After several meetings among the professors and the faculty, it was promoted the sharing with other scholars in some seminars who prefer different approaches to the general topic. It was encouraged the dialogue with other FMAs concerning the impact of the current scenarios onto young people in order to explain the way of thinking and implementing the preventive system. In the scenario disrupted by COVID-19, that actually at that time the situation was not the disrupted scenario in which we are. So the process in a certain way was actually gave us also some advantages because the process was very much participated. But when we started this process, we had no idea about COVID. So these scenarios that were disrupted by COVID and shaken by a growing number of words and conflicts, here there is the pressing question, the new contribution that we can and must offer as Salesians based on the experience gained in so different times and contexts. We agree that in these dialogues, the specific novum for us is the renewed education, which takes long time to have an effect and, however, is confronted with rapid changes. Humanism requires a profound rethinking which leads to concrete choices. What kind of person do we educate? What formation are we contributing to foster for young people? For what society? What paths must be taken to get back to education its own transforming power? The reflection effort should stimulate gaining a critical thinking position and contributing to rebuild the educational pact and develop a new model of human development that is person-centered, as well as to rediscover the sense of relations with the common home, nature, others, oneself, and God. If these are the reasons of this conference, how will be structured the conference? The conference with multidisciplinary and multicultural interpretation is structured into 3 sessions. Tomorrow, the study starts from statistical data that allow to define the FMA contribution to education and to draw elements of reflection suitable for comparison with the scenarios and challenges of the present, and then goes on outlining some perspective for the education vision of reality. The first session, as title, has historical path between data and experiences, historical journey. The historical path delivers the synthesis of an extensive statistical survey. Being impossible to trace back 100 years of FMA history, it was decided to sketch an overall picture of the Institute, indicating the spread of its communities, with people, houses, works in each country of presence throughout the entire chronological period. On the basis of the demography, topography, and distribution of the works, sometimes also with interesting chronological mismatches, some diachronic and synchronic elements of the FMA's activities were found in different geocultural contexts, especially through the education carried out among the popular and middle classes, with specific prevalence of the female component in the age of the childhood, pre-adolescence, adolescence, for most of the time spent concerned because of many, there is no divide now, education divided between females and male students. From the numerical data, we can glimpse hypotheses of research path in various areas in the light of current historiography that interacts with many other disciplinary areas. The existence of a religious institution, it is known, does not depend on buildings or written documents, but rather on individuals that are part of it. And because of this, the yet eloquent quantitative mapping is embodied in the profiles of some FMA creative interpreters of the preventive system. It is a modest approach to microhistory, linked to the incisiveness of some figures in the action territory, not always coinciding with that of origin. Because in many cases there are many missionaries, and hence these imply a multiplicity of aspects that have to be explored on the religious and the classical side, such as the pedagogical, anthropological, and cultural one. Each of these missionaries express a concrete feature that has left its mark in the institute, in the local church, in society. The limitation of such survey is obviously inevitable because there is a limitation. It's just a survey. The criterion that guides the choice was to point out significant and sometimes innovative figures in different types of works, different periods and geographical contexts. In the presentation of the profiles, some authors are present here today. It was not opted for a hagiographic style, but rather for the specificity in embodying some aspect of the preventive system, with also difficulties and opportunities. Figures who, outside their environment, were little known, were identified. Were excluded, except for Maria Romano, those subject to beatification process, as well as the superior generals, with the objective to grasp the charism in daily life, in the dynamism of educational needs, and the choices required of missionaries, intermediate authorities, directors, and inspectors in difficult situations or as pioneers. Obviously, only by placing these few tiles in the entire mosaic with its light and its shadows, the life in its complexity can be grasped. As we told, it's impossible to have a presentation of the whole institute. Along with the new profiles that will be introduced at the meeting, short videos of more numerous figures will be available on the website, also from different periods. We do openly thank those who have worked to draw their educational activity from invisibility. In addition to their lived experience, reference will be made to their reflection on the education gained in the Institute orientations, in setting emotional process as commitment, and also as a pedagogical criterion of action, lifestyle, relations, spirituality, formative model, female and educators. A specific contribution to women education offered is due to the faculty Auxilium through publications and scientific conferences that are promoting the deepening of emerging issues, cultural dialogue, the re-understanding of epistemologies and research methodologies, opening new frontiers. The intertwining of general statistic data with some profiles and reflection communicates the idea that an effective education cannot be improvised or cannot also respond only to the urgencies of the moment, leaving out choices or priorities that qualify us publicly in the long run. The comparison with our roots help us to understand the past. In addition, in our dynamic vision of institutional development, pushes us to ask questions to the past, starting from current events, as well as to collect from our lived life experience food for thought and question, sometimes also uncomfortable for the actualization of the mission in the church and society. And precisely this comparison motivates us to rediscover the state of invention, the novelty of the charism, in the Stato Nascendi, so the invitation of find the Stato Nascente, the novelty of the charism, and not only in Mornese, but in every country where the FMAs are established. Just as the founder developed an evangelical key, interpreting key, the reality, in order to respond to it in a specific way, to incarnate the charism in practice, so their mindset embodied in the mission is for us an appeal to discernment in the today, adopting categories of understanding of our society resulting in operational decisions. After acquiring the legacy from the first sessions, the second session will lead us to the challenges of educating today. This is the very horizon of the second session, aimed at gaining critical awareness of some scenarios and transversal challenges present in the contemporary life. Among the many challenges, we have decided to act on those who act on the individual and community, in particular on today's young people, educators, on the process of growth. This is the great challenge or appeal that concern humanism. Totally, there are brand new realities that constitute the natural environment of young people, call educators to have the courage to study, to grasp resources, seeds contain the same challenges, to know humanism and recognize the direction in which to move to reinvent education. So that this is a huge challenges. The examination of scenarios and challenges concern two levels, facts and reflections. Of course, with attention to those who reflect, how they reflect, with what interests and with what vision of the human person. The reflection on the context at the world level is enriched by the resonance of authoritative respondents from different continental contexts. There will be 5 each for each continent. These reflections aim at a sort of phenomenological mapping that brings out strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities that concern education. This is why this global vision? Not because we can investigate everything in depth, but because really wish that each educational community can feel at home in this Congress, because this institute, because it's the Congress of the Institute who has been developing 150 years old. But for sure, there are many visions of the human being, and even more the way the new generation perceive themselves. Hence, here the image of the polyhedron. In the polyhedron of the anthropologists, from the great scenarios, we focus attention on the anthropological challenge, on education, on the educator. The interest in the facets of the polyhedron of anthropologists moves from the question how to be there in the global context with a normal dynamic education, how we put ourselves, we will more open and responsible in freedom. But as religious women back in the 20th century, we must be asked what anthropological vision must be ensured that we are being there in responsibility, in freedom, in project creativity, in a process of complete maturation of the identity of young people and female and male educators in relation to others. The reflection at the anthropological, social, economical levels are very connected with education and raise pressing questions about long life education. So we must guarantee, in order to live up to the needs of young people, offer orientations and paths of maturation that are really effective to prepare to adult life. The goal is to find ourselves in the polyhedron in a critical and proactive way. This, therefore, leads us to the third sessions, path and perspectives for the future of education in the light of the preventive system. We are getting to the end of our third session. The novelty of our time does not allow a repetitive look. We have realized this in the last few years, but draws the creative passion for experience. The confrontation with the lived life experience stimulates us to look ahead in collaboration with those who care about the future of people, young people, and our common home. Therefore, the objective of this session is to become aware of how some focal points of the preventive system are understood and lived today by the FMA and by the laity who share the mission in the educating communities in various countries, and to reflect together on the specific education and formative contribution that the Institute is called to give today in society. Our research, nourished by international experiences and by the reflection among focus group, has stimulated a broad and interesting dialogue that has to be seen with the enculturization and more or less realize of the unique spirit of the educational style. The third session of the conference will be, in fact, engaged with the proactiveness due to young people by asking ourselves what Salesian education, for what person, in which society, highlighting some of the aspects. The presentation of some results of the research on the experience of the preventive system lived today among the FMAs, carried out by an international team, will be integrated by in-present laboratory and online laboratory. In the challenge of a transversal reading that implies the semantic mediation of different language, even the expression that we usually use in Salesian jargon, let's think about some terms like assistance, love, kindness, family spirit, must be recodified in their meaning and content, and they have to be semantically transferred in those languages mediated by communication, social media, cultural ties. Namely, it is a matter of identifying meanings and common education paths in accordance with polyhedral plurality. The reflection will continue with a roundtable, challenges and resources to refound the Salesian educational presence today. Today's anthropological change leads to a renewed search for the foundations of education, to a new reflection on the meaning in the educational presence and on the different forms and modes it assumes in the digital age. The need for communication and relations that characterize our age expresses, on the one hand, the need for encounter, listening, and dialogue, while on the other, it highlights the lack of it. It must be recognized, in fact, that some of the greatest difficulties that are noted in educational process today derive from a widespread relational discomfort that affects the world of young people, but even more the one of the adults. The multi-voice reflection will explore this problem by putting Don Bosco preventive pedagogical patrimony legacy in dialogue with today's complex reality, followed by challenges but also by new possibilities. How can we reinterpret assistance presence, the heart of the Salesian method in the face of the change in the categories that describe the role and task of the educator today? What interpretive keys to refer to in order to rethink the asymmetry of the educational relationship and restore its depth and pedagogical validity? how to promote and recover within the relation a true youth who takes the lead, empowerment to build free and liberating relations, authentically personalizing. How can we enhance the plurality of the presences living in the territory and engage in constructive dialogue to raise awareness, orient, and draw the attention of all social forces, or maybe also political ones, on educational issues and on the promotion of a culture in support of life? These are the main questions present in our reflection, which will remain in the background of the vision of Christian humanism of the preventive system, which is in harmony with the integral ecology of Pope Francis, puts at the foundation of every authentic process of humanization the relation with gods, with others, with oneself, with the world. From the reflection on the educational presence, understood in more specific Salesian way, deepening and comparison expand on the resources of women for preventing education. And these resources will be presented with your voices. In the interweaving of thematization, of thematization and practice, some current experiences will also be presented as good practices of international nature, promoted by the FMAs. Also in this case, the participation of females from various countries was wide, so that all the documentation, the material will be available online. Since this time in the conference will not be enough time to look at everything together. And then we will have a culture afternoon. There will be a visit throughout Rome. We will come to the strategic and methodological choices. Last word on the modes of this conference that we say take place, will be hosted in presence on remote online, to reach out all continents in streaming or with video recordings, favoring the development of a shared Salesian culture, which is a common legacy for all and not only for the Salesian family. Thanks to the available means, numerous FMAs, educators, and educating communities, members of MAs of higher education institutes, and members of Salesian family, educators, both religions and laity ones, Christian and Christians, youth and representatives of international organizations that are interested in education, scholars of educational science, at the online registered were 1,300. We thank in particular all those who have worked together for the conference preparation from many countries, and take into account there are some time zones. In some other countries it's still morning or afternoon, like in the States, in America. So for all those who face the sacrifice of being present together in order to face this exciting and demanding education theme, there will be the possibility of intervening in moments of debates, also through the chat. The chat will be monitored so that everybody will have the chance to contribute, as today people were in a normal room. And from the program you will notice that we really wanted to have dialogue times, not get our Congress full with remarks, but we really wanted to give room for dialogue, so that thanks to this room we will regain our mission, our task that is very much demanding. Therefore, we all commit all together to comply, to keep times in mind. We will start exactly at the given time, also for giving respect for those who are connected remotely online, and as well as for the interpreters and technicians that we are thankful thinking straight away for their professional systems. Now the work inside is open. Now we will achieve through the contribute online to the achievement of common objectives, to those who have at heart the renewal of society, promote peace daily, and believe that education is the key for it. I wish you good work. Thank you all who made your way for being here. Thank you very much. Rightly, somebody remind me that we will have also 2 other evenings where young people will participate together with the Human Dicastery for Human Development with Laudato Si. This event will be hosted at the Salesian Alamagna at 21 p.m. And on the 28th, we will have youth international evenings where we will welcome all the voices of young people from all over the world. So this feisty tone could not cannot lack.